Our objective for this week's project is going to be similar. We're going to be building a worksheet with formulas and functions. That's kind of what we did last week, but it's a little bit more advanced, not too much more. And because of that, there's going to be a lot of repeated content here. So I'm going to try to skim over that and focus on the new stuff. So the first thing it asks us to do, we're entering a worksheet title and subtitle. We did this last time around. Really all you're doing is going to cell A1 and A1 and A2 rather, and entering your information. As you can see here, to sort of speed up the process, I've already created something that we can work with. We have the title, my name, the date, and some simple data to work with. So we don't need to go over that too much more. Entering salary data, again, it's the same thing. You enter your information and you can press enter to go to the next row. You can press the arrow keys to navigate around cells. All very basic stuff. Using flash fill. This is something new, and this is something that I was not able to make work when I was practicing this earlier. So what it tells you to do is to enter a few columns or rows of data that are similar. So let's do some email addresses here on row J. Do my email address. We press the down arrow. We'll enter the other GTA for this class, Keith Foster. We'll enter his email address, so kfoster8. .jsu. I apologize. .edu. And then it tells us to click on Data in the ribbon to select the Data tab and then select Flash Fill. Okay, so we do that. We go over to the Data tab here, and you can see that everything is grayed out. That's because we're in the edit mode for this cell, but if we press the down arrow, now we can select things. Let me find Flash Fill again. There it is. And we click this, and it gives us this error message that says we looked at all the data and could not find a pattern, etc., etc. I don't know how to make this work. I just was not able to find it. I follow the instructions as it says, and I've never used Flash Fill, as you could probably imagine. So if any one of you can figure it out, let the rest of us know. Mr. Foster is probably going to have a solution to this. Hopefully he can figure it out for you guys on Friday. But as of now, I have no idea. All right, so entering row titles. This is pretty much exactly what you're familiar with. We've already done sheet tab, name, and color. This is all very basic stuff that we did last week. So we're going to pass over that. And if you do need a refresher, remember that last Wednesday's lecture is on stream for you to view. Entering a formula using the keyboard. We're going to do that very quickly. Oh, because it has a particular way it wants you to do this. With the cell to contain the formula selected, type the formula in the cell to display the formula in the formula bar and in the current cell. That's a terrible way of wording it. They turned it into a tongue twister. And to display the colored borders around the cells referencing the formula, or referenced in the formula. Press Tab to complete the arithmetic operation indicated by the formula, and it will display the results. We did this last week, but why not do it here again? So let's say it wants us to enter a formula, and it's not asking for a function. So let's do equals A4 plus B4 plus C4, D4, E4, F4. We're just going to add all these together. Ideally, you would just do a sum of the row, but just for the sake of demonstration, we're going to do it this way. And it says you could press tab and it will bring up the total for you automatically. So that is another way to go to the right on Excel once you've finished a cell. And here it just shows a demonstration of how that works. And here we have a look at the order of operations. As you'd expect, it reads from right to left, but negation takes precedence over everything else, followed by percentage, exponents, multiplication and division, addition, and subtraction. It's similar to what you're used to with PEMDAS or whatever your math teachers use to abbreviate the order of operations. To enter formulas using point mode. Here's another new thing. It's quite handy. With the cell that is to contain the formula selected, begin typing the formula and then click another cell to add a cell reference to that formula. Finish typing the rest of the formula and click the enter box in the formula bar when you have finished entering the formula. So let's just, at the current spot we're on, let's say we want to add cells F4 and F5. Well, what we do, while we're in this here, we've got our formula in progress. We click here, and it throws in a reference to F4. We want to sum it and F5, so we click yet another one, and we're done with that formula. If you want to make any of these constant, if you recall from last week's project, you can place dollar signs in front of both the letter and the number of the cell. But we're not going to do that here. We're done, so we're just going to click this check mark. This is the enter box, and it'll give us our total of 700. Okay, so copy formulas using the fill handle. We've done this before, so I'm not going to explain it too heavily. What we're going to do is we're going to grab these. Here's this little square in the bottom right. It's a little precise to grab it. We're going to drag down, and that's going to copy the formula and adjust for the offsets. So we entered a sum of all the letter 4, the fourth row. Here it has it for the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. Quick refresher on how the fill handle knows what you're trying to do. And this is just a quick overview of the options that Excel gives you. A lot of these are similar to what you would find in Word with autocorrect, insert, pasting options. But one that I want to call your attention to is error tracking. If at any point you enter an invalid formula or function, you'll see an error letting you know that that's happened, and it can give you some ideas on how you could go about correcting that error. One common pitfall of last week's project was there was one particular use of the fill handle that when people did it, I think it was on step 9, it would create a bunch of division by 0 errors. And that's a product of Excel's error tracking. Determining totals using AutoSum. We did this last week. And to display the Home tab, select the desired cell to contain the sum and click AutoSum, the AutoSum button to sum the contents of the range. And click Enter to display the total in the selected cell. Select the range to contain the sum. This is just different ways that you can select cells for summing. So let's come over here to column A. We're going to use AutoSum again really quickly. We just want to click AutoSum. Don't click the arrow next to it, and it'll give us our formula. And if you want, you can select a different set of cells before you press Enter or click the Enter box. It's the same way as what we did before, where we found this total here, where we clicked a couple of these, or you can drag to select. I do believe if we do this, then it reflects that in our formula box. We're going to sum this column instead. And so once we're done, we just click the Enter box, and there it is. We want to determine the total tax percentage. This tells us to select the cell to be copied and then drag to fill the fill handle down through the desired cell to copy the formulas. This is more specific to the project itself. This is just telling you, here's how to, here's how to enter tax formulas. You should see that in your project if this comes up again. If not, let me see. Yeah, it shows it up here in this formula box. So we're getting the totals, or we're getting some amount of information, and then we're multiplying it by this. I know it's very small. It's hard for me to see too. So hopefully that's going to be provided to you by the project. So instead, what we're going to do, just for the sake of completeness, is we're going to do our fill handle tool once again right here. And these are all going to come up the same because it's all the same numbers. So instead, we're just going to back out of that. Next, we're going to look at some of the available formulas and ways that we can insert them. So we're going to begin by determining the highest number in a range. So we're going to select the cell to contain the maximum number. We're going to click the Insert Function box and the formula bar to display the Insert Function dialog box. And from here, we're going to make our selections. So let's replace this here. I want to go ahead and wipe all this out. And we're going to replace that with a different function. And we're looking for the max. So up here at the top, we have max already selected because this is the last one that I selected when I used this dialog box. And it's selected, so we'll just click OK. And you only need to enter a range in here. If you need to enter multiple ranges, then you would have this number 2 box. But for a single range, like what we're doing, to find the max of A4 to A7, we just want to put all that into number 1. And so once we've done that, we click OK. And we determine that our maximum is 1,000. To determine the lowest, here's another way you can go about doing it. Select the cell that is to contain the minimum value, and then click the AutoSum arrow in the Home tab. So let's go over to column B. Make sure we're in the Home tab, and we are. We click the drop-down arrow here. This says AutoSum, but you have access to some other basic functions, including what we're looking for, which is min. And so it will determine that we want B4 to B7, which we do. So we click our enter box, and let's go ahead and jump over to the next column. Here it is, just showing a visual of what all this looks like. So to determine the average of a range of numbers, using the keyboard, we're going to select the cell that will contain the average once again, then type equals AV in the cell to display the formula autocomplete list. Press the down arrow key to highlight the required formula. Double-click the average in the formula autocomplete list to select that function. Then we select the range to insert that range into the argument for the function. The argument, I didn't mention this before, but that is just the name that we give to the things that are placed inside of the parentheses of a function. If you're in computer science, CIS, or some other something that involves programming, you may also hear those named parameters. But then we want to click the enter box to complete the average. So we're going to, from cell C8 to equals AV, and average is the second one. So we want to highlight that with our mouse, double click, and it opens up our parentheses. And we want to average this column here. Select that. Remember to close your parentheses. Click the enter box, and our average is 615. And now to copy a range of cells across a column to an adjacent range using the fill handle. Same principle, but so far we have seen how it will copy one formula pretty seamlessly. But what if we want to copy a range of formulas? It's exactly what you might think. We select the range that we want. Here's our fill handle. And now row D will have a max, row E will have a min, and then row F will have an average, as you can see. And it will just repeat. A way to think of it is that it is tiling them, going repeatedly through the sequence. So if you were to select a fourth one to fill, then that one would include a min. To verify a formula using the range finder. And all this is just a way to see what cells are included within a given formula. So let's look at this one here. So we double click this, and you see that these cells have been highlighted. And that tells you these are the ones being used to complete this calculation. And once you're done, you can press escape to close the range finder and then click anywhere else to deselect the cell. And before we continue on to formatting, this is going to be the last big thing that we cover for today. Does anybody have any questions about what we've discussed so far?
Nope, you're pretty clear.
All right, thank you. Give me a second to take a drink of water and keep my throat from drying out too much. All right. So, like I said, we're going to be moving into formatting. This is mostly going to deal with styles and fonts and alignment and other things like that that you should remember from Word. The process is very similar. To change the workbook theme, this is going to change the theme of the entire workbook. And so what we want to do is come over to the Page Layout tab, and way off here in the far left, we have Themes. And you can see I have integral selected. Let's just change it to something different, like organic. This just changes around some fonts and sizes and other such things like that. Nothing major. It will also change a few colors, particularly for hyperlinks. But like I said, nothing huge. To format the worksheet titles, want to display the Home tab, select the range, and then click Merge and Center. You should remember that from last week. Select the range to contain the title cell style. Let me start that over. Select the range to contain the title cell style. Click Cell Styles button to display the Cell Styles gallery and choose one. So our title cell is up here. And the first thing it asks us to do, again, is to click Merge and Center. And that's going to be back here on the Home tab. Do that, and it takes care of that for us. We don't have it being awkwardly cut off by the B column. Something I should note, you see that our date has been wrecked over here. We're going to fix that later. But while we're here, we're also going to change our styles, and that is where we have. This is where we have our styles. So let's just give it heading number 2. Again, we're going to come back to this in a moment. Actually, we can do this right now. We can do another like that, and now that's fixed. We don't have to extend our lengths or anything crazy like that. We're going to leave it alone. We're not going to change its style for now. There's going to be more about dates in a few slides. To change the background color and apply a box border, we're going to select let's just select our title and our subtitle. And we are going to come here to fill color. I made the mistake while I was practicing this of using the text color and threw myself off. But because of our theme selection, we have a different color palette. It's mostly, natural colors, greens and reds and oranges, a little bit of blue here and there. We're going to change it to this light green. Actually, let's change it to a lighter green. That's much better. And we want to apply a border. And you have this. You can select some predefined borders. Or you can draw a border. You have a bunch of options down here for more specific things, but let's go with a thick outside border. And to get a good view of it, we'll click off of our selection, and there you can see it. Apply a cell style to the column headings and format the total rows. So what it's asking us to do is select the range to be formatted, use the cell style gallery to apply the cell style that we want, click the center button, and apply the total cell style to the range, and bold it. I think the total cell style is more specific to the project that it's got going on in the slides that I'm not really following, just to keep things simple and not take up too much time entering data. But what we want to do is we want to select January through June up here, our column headers. We want to give them a particular style. Let's bring down our style gallery, and let's give these we'll leave them as heading level 3. And it asks us to center them, which we already have them centered. I did this before. You can click it again to deselect that option. And it also wants us to bold them. With the styles we have going on, the theme, these are already in bold. So we don't have to worry about doing that. Next slide. To format dates and center dates in a cell. Select the range to contain the new date format. On the Home tab in the Number group, click the dialog box launcher to display the Format Cell dialog box. And from here, it's pretty straightforward. So we're going to need this to extend across 3 of our cells here. So what I want to first do is remove our merge and center. And we come over here to the dialog box launcher. And we have a bunch of options for the type of information we're entering. In our case, we want date. And I like my dates to be nice and full in some situations. So let's go with that to give us the day of the week, month spelled out, day and year. So we're going to press OK. And then to make sure that it's visible, we're going to merge and center. And there's our date. And let's just give it a style just because we can. We're going to give it the note style. And then we're going to move on. To apply an accounting number format and comma style format using the ribbon, we want to select the range to contain the accounting number format. While holding down the Control key, select the non-adjacent ranges and cells. Click the Accounting Number Format button on the Home tab to apply the accounting number format to the selected non-adjacent ranges. And click the Comma Style button on the Home tab to assign the comma style format to the selected range. So what that really amounts to is here on the Home tab, you have this drop-down menu here. The cell we've got currently selected is of a type currency, but we also have accounting. And if we come down further, I may have just completely missed it. Oh, no? I thought I saw it last time. Oh, doy. This is the comma style. I am sorry for that. I completely forgot. So what it means by selecting non-adjacent cells. Let's say that we want to select all of our inputs, but we also want to select this column here, but we don't want to select column G. Simple way to do that is to hold down your Control key and make another selection. And what that's going to do, the Control key says, okay, don't lose the current selection, but we're going to be picking something else that is not connected to this. And so we've got that selected, and we want the accounting format. Oh, I'm not clicking on it right. And so we come here and we click accounting. And that gives us this nice hanging dollar sign. And these cells are broken. Quick and easy fix for that. We're going to cover this later anyway. You can change column width by grabbing it and doing this. We don't want to go too far. And there, that's fixed. I don't see any others that are broken. And so we can move on. Oh, right, the comma style, like that. And that does get rid of your dollar signs because you have selected a different style. So let's switch it back to accounting. And those are some options that you have access to. Come on, go down to the next row, please, or slide. All right, to apply percent style format and using the increase decimal button. Now let's create a new formula to demonstrate this. We want to divide. Let's say we want to do, whoa, mouse, please. Sorry about that. We want to divide this cell and this cell. And so we finalize that formula. It is currently displayed as a percentage because that's what I clicked. If we take it back to general, it will show that. It will give us just a normal number. If we had kept it as currency, it would be currency. But what we want is percentage. And it gives us 33%. But we want it to be a little more precise than that. So we use these two buttons here. Let's say we want it to be out to 3 decimal places of precision. So 1, 2, 3. And now it's up to 32.520%. We don't need that extra 0. So let's cut it off by decreasing our precision. Applying conditional formatting. This is something that I was mostly unfamiliar with until this week. So what we want to do is we want to come down here, let's grab all of this. And from the Home tab, we have the conditional formatting button. We click that, and we say that we would like to enter a new rule. Format all cells based on their values. That's one of your options. You have a few options to choose from. And you just enter whatever it is that you need here, whether it's a 2-color scale, a 3-color scale, data bar, icon sets, or whichever. You select, since this is a 2-color scale, we have our minimum here. We'll leave that as the default, the lowest value, and the highest value for our maximum. And it's going to follow a trend from this orangish color all the way to a more gold hue. We click OK, and we see that those colors have been assigned to our numbers on this bottom row. And here are some conditional formatting relational operators. These are things that you're used to seeing in your math classes, and you're going to get very familiar with in programming if you are taking those classes. So we have between if it's within a range, not between if it's inside of, or if it's outside of that range, equal or not equal, self-explanatory, same for greater and less than, and greater or equal, or less or equal. These you've been exposed to them plenty in your math classes going all the way back to elementary and middle school, so we shouldn't have to spend too much time covering these. And they all look very familiar to what you'd expect from said math classes. Next, we want to change the column width and the row height. You've already seen how to change column width. It works exactly the same for row height. You select the space in between. Note that you are selecting the bottom of a row, not the top of it. So if we grab this and drag down, we pull number 8 down, and we have these nice big garish boxes. Just going to undo that just because I like this to be nice and neat. And then the last thing I think it wants us to cover, aside from printing, I think so, we'll see, is that you have the option to check spelling within your worksheet, just like with Word. Only they haven't changed the name to editor this time. So we come over to review, and spelling is right here. My assumption for why it's not called editor is because Excel isn't concerned with things like grammar as much as Word is. But we have no spelling error, so it tells us that we're good to go. We click OK. And yeah, the next thing it's going to go over is printing. And so I don't want to go into detail on that because you're not going to be printing. Displaying and printing formulas version of the worksheet. Again, it didn't ask us to do anything with printing before. I don't expect it to do anything with printing now. If that turns out not to be the case, I'll go over the project, make sure I've got it all in my head tomorrow. I know I won't be here for section 1. I'll be in section 3. But if it turns out that printing is something like you have to set up for printing, not necessarily do it, then I will let you know, and I'll go over some steps in an email or a quick video, just so that you guys are prepared.